Welcome to the AI and Faith podcast. We are a community of expert technologists, professionals, and faith leaders bringing the ancient wisdom of the world's major religions to the ethics of artificial intelligence. Join us on this new journey and welcome to the conversation. My name is Pablo Salmones, and I will be your host for today. AI and Faith advisor Meenaz Merchant is one of Microsoft's top leaders incorporating generative AI technology into Bing Search to create Bing Chat. Today's episode is an AI and Faith event recording from May 2023. Meenaz shared his perspective about why and how Microsoft took this extraordinary step, his role in that work, and how he brings his own ethical perspective from his Islamic faith to his work on AI technology. Listen now to our conversation. Meenaz is partner group manager at Microsoft in search and distribution web experiences team. He was also previously principal group program manager in artificial intelligence and research on Bing Search and AI, and also principal program manager lead Bing Search quality for images and videos. So he has an extensive experience in Microsoft and in many other roles as well, and other technology corporations too. And he has a bachelor in computer engineering and then an MS in computer sciences by Stanford University, and also an MBA by the University of California in Berkeley. So Meenaz, once again, thank you so much for joining us. It's a true pleasure to have you here. And definitely I can say all the community has been waiting for this moment for a long time and waiting to learn a lot from you. So thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Pablo. I'm very excited to be here. It's an honor to be part of this panel, as well as, at this very important time in our history when technology is reshaping the world.
Indeed it is, Meenaz. Thank you so much for that. So one first question, because you have had many positions at Microsoft. So what exactly do you do right now at Microsoft?
I work, my main responsibility is to define the product vision for Bing image search, Bing video search, camera search. That is, you can upload an image and then you can search that image on the web, or understand an image. Like if you give an image, generate a caption for it. So those are the main four scenarios which are part of search, which I work on. In addition, I work on a couple of other things. One is that I work on a labeling platform, AI labeling platform. So for building all these models, all the models we talk about, AI models, you need a lot of data and you need tools to build that. So there's an internal tool for Microsoft. If anybody in Microsoft, any developer in Microsoft wants to build machine learning models, they need a mechanism to collect data. I work on that platform as well. It's a crowd platform. So that's another project I work on. And lastly, I also work on procuring the capacity for our needs. It's not the financial part, it is just the operational part of figuring out how much capacity we need in our data centers to run our service. So those are mostly my responsibilities.
Okay, so very many things then, Meenaz. And now, within all these responsibilities that you're talking about, well, Microsoft is well known for, beginning to integrate AI into its products. So how do you identify that need for AI into existing products, and some of those challenges that you have encountered perhaps when incorporating AI into these different products?
Yes, I can talk about one of the challenges which is very well known. So last fall, Microsoft got access to GPT-4, and this was a couple of months before ChatGPT was announced. This model was capable of synthesizing, chatting, and creating. The model itself was trained at a given point in time, and that was a huge challenge. What we did is one of the challenges. The first place we integrated GPT-4 was into the Bing chat experience, and we wanted to provide results for complex, long, and natural prompts. And so what we did is we used Bing to provide fresh and comprehensive results. And we call this process grounding. So what we do is we first check that what the user is asking and get more grounding data before we send it to GPT. So this gave us much more accurate results, especially for fresh topics in the chat experience, because you might ask something which just happened yesterday, and search, which crawls the internet, would know it, but GPT might not know. So getting the grounded results from there and sending it to GPT gave us more accurate results. Another thing which is very interesting, which I worked on, is that we found out that our chat users are very creative, and they were using it for all kinds of scenarios, including generating stories. So we thought, why not give them the ability to draw and create images for their stories right from the chat experiences. So there was another AI model from OpenAI called DALL-E, which generates, you type in a caption and it generates images. So we integrated DALL-E directly into the chat experience. This was a challenge because DALL-E was trained only on English, while GPT works on all languages. So we leverage GPT itself to do the translation. So if somebody in German types in something about creating an image, we translate it in English. The user doesn't know about it, and we now our image generation works in over 100 languages using the power of GPT. So these were some of the challenges, couple of challenges which I've recently faced. We were able to overcome them.
Right, Meenaz, and yes, actually, in terms of putting together search, Bing search in this case, and generating these different answers. We have some follow-up questions on that. But before I forget, you mentioned, the power that the GPT has and the way that you're incorporating it into these different products and DALL-E and all of them. And, currently there is a writer's strike, right? And one of the demands that they have is that AI be used as a tool to help humans rather than to replace them. I think that many in different fields, writers in this case, but also digital creators and many other professions are kind of like afraid of the different effects that this may have in their jobs, whether they're going to lose their jobs or not. So one of their demands is actually that AI be used for as a complement to the work that they're doing rather than as a full replacement. Do you think that is possible? Was that always the case? I mean, was that always a plan for AI to be a helpful tool? Or what risks do you see there, and what role are these different professions and humans will be playing in this new age of AI?
So AI can be used to make all kind of workers more efficient. The new technology still requires, like in the case of the writers, you still require people to read, edit, and approve the generative content. Writers can then focus more of their time on things GPT can't do. In summary, we definitely want the benefits of this technology, and we want to mitigate the unintended consequences. So what I believe is that human intelligence needs to complement artificial intelligence, and there are two main aspects here. So one is responsible AI, which we here at Microsoft take very seriously. So it's critical that humans test the systems to ensure that the new models have no adverse impact on people, organizations, and society. The models need to be reliable, safe, secure, inclusive, and fair for a particular scenario. For example, I was involved in extensive testing for DALL-E, and we did modifications to ensure safety and inclusivity. And more work needs to be done, and we are learning and improving every day. The second aspect is we need to build systems in such a way that we know when to involve humans to either complement or validate a decision made by AI. For simple scenarios like traffic prediction, we can use the crowd, and you can use an AI can reason over it. But complex scenarios like health advice or even religion advice, we need domain experts. So the writers need to be there to ensure tech is responsible and enhance further the output. I don't want to dismiss the fact that there is a socio-economic impact, and because there is efficiencies, if corporations are looking for efficiencies, and if there's 10 writers and now they become so efficient that they need 8 writers, so there will be some impact. So I don't want to say that there will be no impact, but in general, whenever there is efficiency, there is a shift in jobs. In areas where you get more efficiency, there'll be more shift in jobs from there to elsewhere.
Right. And you mentioned just right now, the word like that people are going to be like editing and making sure that AI is responsible. So what I'm getting is you envision, in this case, writers, for example, much more as editors and as creators of content, like the generators of content in these coming years.
We'll have to see how this application works out, but I would doubt that real original content would, something very original would come out from GPT directly. You still need writers for that. Writers could help you. I mean, the GPT could help you, do this at a better job, maybe get you started, get you more ideas. So in general, technology helps you become more efficient. It is never going to do a complete job, and it's never going to do a perfect job. It's never going to be very original. So there is always going to be gaps when you use AI.
And precisely one of those gaps, Meenaz, which you mentioned at the beginning, in the way in which you're integrating GPT into Bing search, is that, well, it's people are currently using all these generative AI tools as search engines, even though they're not search engines, right? But people are asking them questions about, well, hey, can you, I don't know, write me an essay on the Mexican Revolution or something like that, right? And so people are asking these sort of questions, questions about finding information and retrieving information rather than generating this new information. This is the way that people have been using them. So, they're asking these questions, expecting it to retrieve facts. But however, since these models have no sense of truth, how can this potentially affect questions that are being asked, particularly with religious interpretations, since we're right now in the AI and faith community? So when people ask it questions about the Quran, for example, or about the Bible, well, it will give them some sort of answer. So they're being used in that way. So how do you think it will affect these the answers, these interpretations of the texts? And at the same time, a follow-up question would be: now that you're integrating it, you've integrated it with Bing, how does this help mitigate perhaps some of the risks that asking it such questions may have?
So this is a very good question. You can surely, fine tune a GPT model just based on religion. So you could take, for example, the Islamic text, the Quran and the Hadith, and you could fine tune the model, and you could, and I think people have already started doing this. And you can ask it questions and, treat it as a replacement for a priest or an imam, and it will do fairly well. It will never be an expert which can be relied on for complex matters or decisions, as it may not have the current context of all people involved in all circumstances. In any scenario which gets a little bit complex, there are people involved, people's relationships, there are circumstances, the local circumstances. There's so many aspects, and the model is abstract from all of these things. It's similar to a medical or a legal opinion, right? You could get a medical or a legal opinion from GPT, but everyone's situation is unique, and you wouldn't take drugs or legal opinion recommended by GPT. So the religion-based models have to be also made responsible. That is a big concern. So if somebody takes an existing generic GPT model or any large language model and then fine tunes it with religious texts, I mean, it already does fairly well with religion texts, but you could fine tune it even more and give it more deeper religious texts. But then if somebody doesn't work on making it responsible by teaching it and also having disclaimers, so when it responds to something where someone is asking for advice, like today, if you try these models, in many cases for self-harm or other, it will give disclaimers or try to be careful. I'm not sure if it's done for all this in the cases of religion, and that needs to be done so that the models are much more responsible, and therefore people don't misinterpret it.
Right, and I think you mentioned something crucial about the complexity, and whenever there are more complex matters, there are human involved and relationships and all that. as a human being, as someone who perhaps, if a human being rather, sir, is not as familiarized with these, with, I wouldn't call it limitations, but with this context and the fact that in more complex situations, the model might need, humans in the loop and everything. How can humans properly identify how much complex is something, or how complex something needs to be in order for the model perhaps be in need of human intervention? In other words, if someone finds themselves at a situation in which perhaps they want to ask something to the model, either in religious or other terms, how do they know if their situation as a user, how do they know if their situation is complex enough or not complex enough, so that the model can provide a proper answer?
So the user wouldn't know. It's very difficult for the user to know, because many times you start with, something simple. You want advice on inheritance, you want advice on divorce, and then suddenly the situation becomes complex because you ask a very complex question related to religion, and then this situation. And yesterday I was trying out a bunch of prompts related to religion just to get an idea. It doesn't know that all the answers are very generic. It doesn't know that most religions have so many denominations, and the denominations might have different interpretations. So those aspects are not clear. It will use the dominant view. So it's already an issue from that perspective, so that if you're in a denomination and a religion and the laws are a little different, the model is not going to know that, and then you have to ask a specific question. I belong to this denomination, therefore other laws, like the user wouldn't know that all those aspects. So it will get complex. Now the folks who are building the models, on the other side, how do they work on it? So what they do is they look at the models, and what we call is we do red team testing. So we find out, whatever the areas where it can be problems. So that, like, terrorism is a problem. So we don't want anybody, using models to learn how to make a bomb. So you can do red team testing. That is, you can try a lot of prompts in that area and see if it produces any problem. And then you can add you can put mitigations into place. Similar thing needs to be done for religion to make sure these models are robust in that area. And similar testing needs to be done. And then the models need to be either trained with more training data to improve, or specific mitigations put in place so that it doesn't behave wrongly, oddly, or gives a warning that you should consult an expert.
Right. And I think you just mentioned now about the dominant view, right? Which I think that part is very important, because it happens indeed that, and you also mentioned, for example, that DALL-E was only trained in English, and there are all these different, training data that has been used with these models, and there are certain groups of people from all over the world actually that are underrepresented, and languages that are underrepresented, and overall views that are underrepresented. So I don't know, to say, for example, for people from Mexico, for example, and from different religions as well. So how do you think that these groups in particular that are underrepresented with the in this both in the training data, but also the people working on those models, how do you think they should participate in the development of AI? And with Muslims in particular, what contributions that other religions perhaps may overlook can they provide to this development of these models?
Yes. So let me answer this question in two parts. First, I'll accept that the models tend to have a Western bias. And the main reason for this is because the internet itself is biased. So if the internet is biased and the models use the data from the internet, then they're going to be biased. So the training has to continue with diverse training data, and every version is getting better. There are two major problems. One is misinformation, or as the press likes to call it, hallucinations. That is one problem which happens, and the other one is bias. So how do we take care of all of these problems? So for hallucinations, as I said before as well, that one of the ways we handle that is we try to ground it as much as possible. That means try to do fact checking. If there's some fact checking of the question of the user, then if the person is asking about suicide, this the sensitive topic right away. So you can, before even sending the data to the GPT model, you can take some action before itself, and the topic, and you can handle it appropriately. I would say the three top things we need to do is, whenever you build a model, you think deeply about what is the use case. So if the use case is religion, what are the benefits you're trying to secure by using this model, and what are the potential harms? And therefore, there needs to be an impact assessment, which helps you design the product well. Because right now, when we are talking about it, we're just talking about general language models, which everybody is directly using. But the way the trend is going to go, there's going to be a health model, there's going to be a religion model, there's going to be a legal model. Everybody's going to go to those expert models over time. And when anybody builds these models, they need to think about the use case properly. The second is, this is a very important lesson which I learned. It's very important to have diversity in the engineering team and also people who are testing the product, and this helps in identifying biases. If I remember many years ago when I worked on models, image recognition models, it was a woman with a hijab or a scarf, it was unable to recognize it. Because there was no training data of that kind, or a Sikh person with a turban, it was unable to recognize that. Just having a diverse team which helps you release and test this, and try different prompts in different areas, and people are with diverse backgrounds can help you improve your product. And the third is that we need to be committed to learning and development. Like I learned a lot. I might be an expert in certain areas, but in many areas I was not. And just being curious about different histories of the world, different cultures of the world, helps you improve the models. It's very important that we do all of these three things to make sure that the models are robust and keep improving.
Right. And for example, how have your values and ethics derived from your faith influenced the work that you do around this? Like both, I imagine that has had some sort of influence since these times that you're talking about, like developing those models, and when you realize that there was like this bias and the need for this diversity, but also in the work that you're doing now. So how have they affected and influenced the work that you do on an everyday basis in the field of technology, and more particularly in the field of AI?
So as I said, the most important thing is having a diverse team, so diverse views. So I bring my own set of diversity, which is helping. But as a religious person, the most important aspect I bring is ethics, honesty, and fairness, right? Every religious person, if they're truly religious, then they should be, they bring some certain level of morality and fairness to the table. And secondly, I personally, I bring diversity because I'm an Indian Muslim. So my Indian background, where I grew up in India, which is where Muslims are a minority. So I bring that perspective. I know more about that country. And obviously, I bring my religious background as well, which helps me look at a problem in a different way. But, it is, when I work at my team and we do red team testing, we have people from various backgrounds all over the world. I encourage people, like when we wanted to release the product in Philippines, I reached out to the Philippine community to make sure they are participating, they are testing. So nobody can be an expert in anything. You need people from all over the world, all backgrounds, to test the product. And I found out a lot of issues in many cultures, related to many cultures and religious aspects, which, what hurts people, what are the sentiments, and what aspects do different communities perceive. And then I would say thirdly, the most important thing is that I'm a curious person, and many religious persons are. They want to learn, continue. They learn about other religions. They learn on other people, and that's something I do as well. I love learning about all kinds of religions, if I come in contact, when I was a child, I came in contact someone who was a Zoroastrian. So I learned a lot about that faith. When I came to the United States, I started learning about all the denominations in Christianity. One has to be curious to be successful, and that itself helps me do my job better. And then the most important thing which I have learned is that people of all faith, culture, and countries have challenges and controversies, and learning about all of them is important to build global products.
Right. And just one last question, Meenaz, for example, I think that I love this part about curiosity, what you're saying about being curious and how that drives you forward. And can you give us an example of a time, perhaps, or of a moment, a situation in which your bringing of this diversity by being fair and your ethics and honesty and fairness have, for example, provided some like these diversity? I mean, I get it, and I think we all do on a perspective, on a theoretical perspective, but practically speaking, it also has, they're saying these implications when we were releasing this product in the Philippines, for example, or this other product in another place. So do you recall, for example, a time in which your bringing of this diversity actually, for example, changed the outcome or part of the process that you were carrying out at that point in time?
Yes, I mean, there are a lot of examples where my perspective of diversity helped learning the sentiments of the people. So, like, for example, we wanted to make sure that there's no fake images generated, and for example, so what we did is at the same time, when it comes to religion, a lot of people want to draw beautiful images. Actually, one of the first countries we launched is India, and I thought maybe people are going to be very sensitive, so we should not allow art and painting of gods, Hindu gods, and that we should be sensitive about it. But the reaction I got from people is, that's exactly what we want to do. That's the first thing we want to do. And as a Muslim, there's no drawing of gods. There's no such thing as, you don't know what God looks like. So that is a big no-no. When I interacted with employees over there, because I first interacted with employees themselves, they said, we want to draw gods. So now how do I solve this? I want to be fair here, where if I don't want someone to come and say, draw Allah, because you can't draw Allah. At least that's a Muslim idea. But at the same, if somebody wants to draw a beautiful image of a Hindu idol, I should allow it. So then I came up with this solution called where we'll do a review. So you can generate it, where humans will review it. So this is where human complements AI. So if someone is trying to do harm and trying to do something bad, we will not allow it. We have this review system where we automatically review it in real time. And if the person has a good intention, we let it go. This was a good learning moment for me. And it showed that whatever you think as a person may not be. And same applies. Like I've learned that, everyone wants to draw Jesus. So it's very important to people that. And at the same time, that was an important learning for me. And, obviously there are so many European Middle Ages there have been beautiful sculptures and paintings about Jesus. So that's important. I think the most important thing, as I said, is you have to be a continuous learner and have an open mind and understand different people of different faith and culture and their context and the background they're coming from to make good products.
Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for this chat, Meenaz. It was wonderful. It was truly an honor to be able to ask you these questions, and I'm sure it was wonderful for the audience as well. You just listened to the AI and Faith Salon recording from May 2023. Stay tuned to listen to more salon recordings and interviews with experts from around the world. In the meantime, follow and rate our new podcast on your favorite podcast platform and share with your friends. Don't forget to follow us on our social media as well. We are on LinkedIn and X. Thank you for joining us today.